All right. No worries, Tanya. Let the kids run. It's summer break, girl. Let them go crazy. If the house starts catching on fire, I will let you know behind you, though. Like, the house is on fire. Vanina, did you have a question real quick before we got started?
No, I just wanted to ask you if you were recording.
Oh,
perfect. Thank
you.
you.
See, everybody knows but me. Boo. Okay, cool. All right, so this ideally is one of the things we talk about because a lot of people have been reaching out. They've reached out to me personally before, and even I'm sure Dylan gets on calls. Jill, I'm sure you get some answers to this. Like, hey, what's the best structure for a team? When should I start a team? What are the best systems for a team? How much should I do for my splits? When do I hire? When do I fire? I mean, there's so many variables to running a team. And first things first, I'm gonna tell you right now is team, and everything I've done in my team previously, and even running companies, team comes into leverage. That's a team is leverage. Just look at that. Leverage is your space, right? As a single individual realtor, you're going to go out and you're going to crush it as a rainmaker. You're going to do your thing, and you're going to get to a point where you personally can't manage to live anymore because you're burning the candle at both ends of the stick and you just want to pull your hair out. That's when you need to figure out leverage. That's the next step. That is ultimately the only next step. Leverage and scalability. Leverage and scaling your business. And running a team environment is ultimately the only way to leverage and scale your business. So many ways to do it. There's not one way or one wrong way to run a team. There's been proven methods, though, that I can say that people have started off running a team and it failed, and other methods that worked and it worked for them. I think it could be marketplace, environment, people, different elements. All different things would change that, I think, environment. But nonetheless, I think ultimately for me personally, and everybody's going to be, so Dylan, you can bring some insight on this too, and Jill, but me personally, when I ran my team, I didn't start looking to leverage myself until I was personally doing about 6 to 8 deals a month consistently myself. When I was doing 6 to 8 deals a month consistently myself, I needed time to leverage. And that was the time I started thinking about how do I start building a team. Before that, honestly, I'm telling you right now, if you're doing less than that or kind of roller coaster, ebbs and flows, inconsistent business right now, I would not look to start a team based on the fact that you just don't want to do certain activities. Let's say that. Like, I don't want to do the activity, so I'm going to go hire somebody to go do it. That's not the reason to have a team. Okay, so team again is designed for leverage, to replace and leverage your time, energy, effort, and to increase your abilities to do more of what you do great at. Which you're a rainmaker, go make it rain. A lot of people will get into the team environment and they stop and they get this free time and they stop doing their job as a rainmaker, and then all of a sudden things just start slowing down. They can't feed the team, things don't work, it's chaos. So anyways, that's kind of the preface of this, which is why we started this. We thought people have a lot of ideas and questions around it. So what better way than to jump into this and those? And we had a lot more people that were kind of curious about it. So hopefully they jump on too, but they're going to be recording this. So, and it's going to be a Q&A. So this is an open forum, not like one person just talking. So anybody that has a question any given time, just unmute your mic and say, hey, I got a question. What does that mean? Can you talk about that again? I don't really understand that portion. Okay. So make sure you guys this is designed for you guys to plug in, get immersed, and ask questions. There is no wrong question here. Is that fair enough? Everybody good with that? So yeah, that's kind of my thing. And so yeah, my personal experience, my team, I didn't start mine until I was doing 6 to 8 deals consistently every month. And then I needed to figure out ways to start integrating some leverage in my time so I could free up some of my time and allow me to do things I need to do more consistently, which was lead generating. I understand that as a rainmaker, your job is to make it rain. That is your job, number one. So keeping the leads flow. And that's like one of the most, I think the biggest fear. People don't want to hire people because they're afraid they don't have enough business to keep their team going. Well, they will if you keep doing your job, which is why you do what you do and leverage and start creating the team environment. Okay. So let's start with this. What's a couple of things that everybody has? Maybe I posted in the forum. What are some questions you guys have that maybe you can start off? We can show some topics here that you guys might have as far as like questions or areas you're stuck in right now. Let's shoot out that real quick. Maybe put in the chat box or even something like that. What do you have that maybe you are like, all right, I got a question about this. This is something, let's start off with that. And then Dylan, you got something you want to start off with?
Yeah, I got tons of notes over here. So if you want me to kind of get the discussion going, I can definitely start with that. So
yeah. And in the meantime, people will start chiming in and put their questions in chat box and stuff too. Go for it.
So I just wrote down a bunch of like questions that you got to ask yourself and some like self-evaluation type things, because I think from the outside looking in, and again, another like super important concept, right, is like don't like read other people's fairy tales, right, and wish that it was yours, because I think people look from the outside looking in and think like having a big successful team is like this fairy tale thing, and now your life is super easy and like you just can chill out and you make a lot of money, and like like a person that looks at a regular realtor and thinks you're just going to get into the real estate business and make all this money and it's going to be super easy, right? Like to me, you just trade one hard for another hard, and you just got to decide which hard you like better, right? So, just for me, like some things that I've learned over the years. I mean, first one is that there's no two teams that are similar. So when people like look, I get asked this question all the time, like, give me the roadmap, like what's the blueprint, right? And it's like, there is none. Like I've studied this for years now, trying to figure it out. And you have to figure out what works best for you, what works best for your environment, what's best for your market, what's best for your agents. I mean, I think it's going to be vastly, and in most cases, like no teams are even similar. Like they're vastly different. They're very different models, compensation structures, lead generation programs. Their leaders are very, like no two leaders look the same. You have some leaders, you're like, why would anybody follow this guy? And some are like super charismatic, and you're like, I would drink the Kool-Aid for this guy, And so it's like, you never know what it is that drives and brings that synergy together. But to me, there's some like attributes that you got to really think of and self-evaluate, that I've done a lot of self-evaluation on over the last few years is, and I'm just going to kind of run through these in no particular order, right? The first one is like consistency. You talked about this already, Chris, right? Like people think they get into real estate for like a flexible schedule and it's going to be easier. And I really don't like that answer, because you really give up all your flexibility. Now you're on other people's time, right? So that's a very bad mindset. If you think like, I want to do new agents tell me, oh, I want to get into it because I want the time flexibility. To me, that means you don't want to work, right? That you want to chill out and you want to take 4 days off a week and stuff. It's not how it works. And that even gets compounded when, to me, you become a team leader. Is now not only are you at the beck and call of your clients, now you're at the beck and call of every client, of every agent that you have, because now you have 10 agents with 10 clients instead of just having 10 for yourself, right? So you've now exponentially put yourself in a position where you have to be more available and you have to be consistent in when you show up, right? You cannot have a bad week where you don't show up. Like you literally have to be there every single day, available to be a leader. And that's a leader's job, is to be consistent. I've found that you have to be willing to do what everybody else doesn't want to do. The only reason that you bring value to a team as a leader is because you're doing something that the agents on the team either can't do themselves, won't do themselves. I mean, whatever it is. And so in a lot of ways, it gets harder. It doesn't get easier, because now you got to do more of the thing that potentially other people don't want to do. And if you don't like to do it, then it's definitely not going to be a fun place to be. So are you willing to do the things that everybody else is not willing to do? Taking risk and increasing pressure upon yourself. This is a big one, where the biggest benefit I think team members benefit from, which they take for granted, is the amount of risk that the team and the team leadership take on, right? Like you take on all of the cost, all of the pressure, the outside pressure of providing all of these different resources and support and time and all this stuff. And a lot of times it's like, as an agent, you just feel like I'm just going to call on it and use it when I need it. And they don't see like that has to be there all the time. And the amount of money, like any team, leader is outlaying, 20 to 100 grand a month in costs. And it's like, as a team member, you're like, oh, I don't want to pay a split, but then you can come into the business with zero cost to lead generation, zero cost to buy your signs, zero cost to have all these support systems. And you think like it should be free, right? I mean, so that's one of the things that you'll deal with as a leader, is like, you'll be taken for granted all the time. And it's like, if you take that stuff personal and you let it get to you, it's gonna be hard to sustain, right? Because I mean, you cannot take that stuff to heart. It's just a natural part of the business. And sometimes you got to have that conversation and be like, hey, look, person, like this is all the shit that you're getting. Like this is not costing you anything, and you wouldn't have all this stuff. You go figure it out on your own and see how that works out, right? I mean, and so you just kind of take that stuff personal and let it get to you. Do you have the capacity to love unconditionally? This is one of my biggest things is I find that a big thing that holds realtors back from growing an organization, or just growing like a small team, bringing on an assistant, is they have this immediate reaction to disappointment where they want to cut you off. It's like, so I give Chris 10 leads and he closed nine of them successfully, and he kind of botches one. I'm never giving Chris a lead again because he sucks and he's terrible, and I'm never going to work with him again because he screwed up this one lead. And it's like, that is the craziest way to do business, right? Like nobody's perfect, but that's kind of how we treat our peers in the business. Is we have this like super high bar of expectation and zero grace, and we have all these conditions in our ability to love and work with somebody. And I joke with the team all the time, like I am disappointed every single day in them. Like I have never been so disappointed in my life, but it's like your kids, like they'll disappoint you all the time, but you still got to love them, right? You still got to work with them. And if you're going to sustain an organization, you have to have the capacity to get over the disappointment or the mistakes and the things they're going to do wrong, because it's going to happen. And I try really hard to instill that in the agents, that like they get so nervous and caught up that like they're gonna make me mad or disappoint me or piss me off, and it's like that does not exist in my world, because it's not a sustainable way to do business. Like if you're consistently doing the wrong thing, they're gonna have a conversation and you may have to leave. But if it's an honest mistake, if it's an honest thing that you drop the ball on, that happens to the best of us, right? So it's like you have to have that ability to get over that and have unconditional love. Trusting others and giving up control, that's another thing. Like a lot of agents have this like personality where they have to do everything themselves. They're the only ones that can provide service to their client the way that they can. It's a huge barrier to growth, and you have to be able to trust other people and let them do it their way, right? They may not do it your way, but it's going to get done, and it might get done better than your way. Your way is not the best way, and you have to get over that mindset. And then the last one, I'll stop talking, is just like the capacity, like Chris said, the capacity to generate leads. To me, I mean, I wasn't doing 6 to 8 deals a year. I mean, a month, but I was probably doing 3 or 4, but had the lead capacity to do 6 or 8. And in our market, you just can't really like, there aren't agents who do, I mean, if you like a super high producing agent in our market is 30 deals a year, right? So if you're doing more than like 3 a month, you just don't have the time capacity to do that. And so that was one thing that made sense to me, was like, hey, I can like drop the ball on these additional 3 or 4 transactions a month, or I can just give them to somebody else and then take a split on them. And then that just continued to escalate and then shift your focus away from, and definitely that's been my evolution over the last couple of years, is shifting my focus away from like actually doing transactions to just generating more leads, coming up with more lead programs, coming up with better ways to convert leads. And then that's how you get from doing 30 deals yourself to doing 300. And you're way better off getting a percentage of 300 than 100% of 30. I mean, if you do the math, no matter the way you do it, I mean, income wise, it makes a lot more sense. So anyways, that's it for now. I got more notes, but we'll let some questions come out.
So basically what you're telling me is you got to be Jesus to be a rainmaker. Perfect, consistent, loving, kind, forgiving. I mean, these are characteristics of God. Yeah.
Simple, man. Yeah.
Underappreciated and overworked position. I'm going to put that out there right now, everybody, because I want to keep this real. I had a meeting yesterday with somebody, and I was training a coach her about her business, right? And she says, Chris, I want you to be dead honest with me. What's this going to be like? It's going to be freaking painful. Like, what? I'm like, it's going to be freaking painful. I'm not lying to you. I'm like, it's going to be painful. Are you willing to take the task of going through pain? Oh, yeah. Just be honest. It's painful. It's not rainbows and butterflies and kisses, everybody. This is the next step in leveraging your business, that if you want to take it, like Dylan said, to the next level, this is the only option. It really is, unless you work yourself to the grind and then ultimately jump off a bridge. So leverage is key. So a couple things. I love that, Dylan. Thank you for sharing all those. Are great qualities. I think it starts with the leader, right? The pace of the leader determines the pace of the pack, or the speed of the leader determines the pace of the pack. Is exactly what it's about, right? It's that ability to be able to kick in there and do that. And so that's important. One of the things I would say is maybe from the beginning, for everybody here, honestly, I don't think anybody really has a team yet. Jill, you guys got a team. Dylan's got a team. Johnny, Roy, I think, do you guys got a team? Johnny? I don't think you have a team yet, do you? I don't know if he's, yeah. Yeah, okay, Lynn's got a team. Awesome. Okay. So maybe the idea that we can start from is where it's like maybe the conception of what this looks like. Tell everybody, when you start building your team out, my first hire actually was an admin. Okay. A lot of people think I'm going to go get some buyer's agents to handle these leads. That's kind of the wrong thing. You're kind of taking the wrong concept, putting the carriage before the horse. So mine was an admin, but here's the kicker. My admin needed to know what to do. I had it all up here in my head of how I ran my entire business and how it was systematized. It was like that, right? But the kicker was I didn't explain that to my admin, but yet I expected that person to perform at the level in which I was performing, right? Because I'm running at such a fast pace. And I'm like, here we go. I'm going to hire you. I'm going to pay this money right now. You better jump in that seat and you better roll with it and get what I want done the way I want it done, the way I've been doing it. And that's the most false impression you're ever going to get. Number one, you need to put down and create some systems on what you do on a daily basis so that you can share that with an admin, the person you hire next. That is your goal. You need to have that in place, right? So that's the first start. I would take your business model, your systems that you have. Maybe you have none. I don't know. If that's the case. We need to start some. But if you don't have any, we start from there, from scratch. You need to define what your business looks like and how you operate that business. Then you need to create some systems around that and actually put it on paper and make a curriculum or a SOP, right? Standard operating procedure of how that role runs. Maybe it's inputting listens to MLS. Maybe it's doing CMAs. Maybe it's doing property searches. I don't know. You need to figure that out, because that's all the stuff that admin is going to take off of your plate. The $5 to $10 an hour jobs that you now can eliminate, and it frees you up. It could free up 20 to 30 hours a week for you that you were doing previously. Now you could funnel that 100% into lead generating and making it rain more and create more leads, which is more security for the team. So let's start there. Let's start with, okay, you need to identify and see what your team, your model looks like, what you're doing, and create some systems around that, and then put into a curriculum or SOP that you now can train. It's like taking somebody that comes into McDonald's and you put them on the fryer, right? Okay, you put on a fryer. This is what you do. You come in, you turn the fryer on, you let it heat up to 600 degrees, you flip the cans over, you do this like step by step by step by step. You make sure they do it great every day. So they're the best fryer cook in McDonald's history, right? That's what you want. You train them and coach to be the best fryer. That's what you do with your admin. You teach and coach them and show them step by step, 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C. This is what you do. This is what I expect. And this is what has to happen. That's where you start off. So I can tell you right now, raise your hand. You probably don't have those. Most teams don't, which is why they fail, right? I love it. Tanya, you said creating SOPs was one of the best things I did. Awesome. You want to share some of that stuff with us, Tanya? What were some of the SOPs that you stand for your business?
So I have, there I am. So, you know, I have a V8. And one of the things that I do, because, you know, I do all the, I'm a Krista person, so I do all like the digital marketing and all that. And it was just like, I just needed to, you know, I had a VA before, but, you know, one of the things is like, if anybody's going to help you, you need to help them help you. And if you don't train them and if you don't put in the time, then you're not going to have, whoever you hire, if you don't put in the time to train them, you're not going to get the right kind of help, right? Whatever it is. So I really wanted to spend time to make sure she knew what I needed. And so I just started writing it down, and I was like, what is my process? And it was just going through that. And especially as I was training her, and I was like, okay, it takes this, it takes that. And then I was like, oh, because, you know, especially because I was in that zone. So just writing it all down, I was like, oh my God, this is so great. It's really clear for me now. It's
Right?
really clear for her now. So now, and then she has something that she can go back to refer to. Also, what I did is not only did I write it down, I said, here's this step, here's this step, here's this step. At the same time that I was doing it, I went onto Loom and I made all these videos. And I was like, okay, you know, here's how you, I don't know, here's how you upload or download a video from Vimeo, and you're going to put it on my website. And this is how I want you done. So I had the steps written out, and then I made the video, and I said, go refer to this video, put the link, and so they go to Loom. I have it there. I put it on a Google Drive where everybody can access, and like, here's the video that shows you how to do that. So if somebody forgets how to do that, or, you know, eventually she's going to leave me, right? And then I don't have to create all this again. It's going to be easier for me the next time. And then especially for me with my process, it helps me set my expectations in advance with her, you know, too. So I don't know. It was great.
I love it. And I love what you said, though, that if you don't actually figure out how to get them to do it, you're not going to get the best out of that person. And then you look at him like, God, you were a horrible hire. Well, no, actually, you were a horrible teacher.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to turn around and put that finger. You're like, whoa, I was expecting more than I actually shared with you, and my bad. You know, like you're saying, Dylan, sometimes you judge people. If you did 9 deals and then screwed the 10th one up, oh my God, you're horrible. No, you're not. Like, some of it falls on your shoulders. You got to take some ownership of that. So as a rainmaker, you're taking all of the hits. I love that.
Yeah.
Linda had a question about videos. What'd you say, Linda? Do you create training videos for agents, especially new agents, contracts, training together? Who does the videos? I honestly don't. I'm not in the era of doing videos. I was doing it back in the day where it was all handwritten paper stuff. So you're doing videos, Jill. Who wants to chime in on that and talk about what you're doing for videos for training agents and stuff like that?
It's absolutely critical. Like, if you don't do that, like, I mean, and that's the easiest way. I mean, you can have the SOP, which you should, but then you also need to just have a video. This is how you open escrow, and all you do is the next escrow you open, you just record yourself doing it and talk about it while you're doing it. It's not like, it's not brain science, you know, it's not rocket science, it's not brain surgery. It's like, you just do it. And then something I took for granted in the beginning is you also have to coach the agents on how to use that video, right? Like, I got feedback one time, and the agent's like, yeah, I tried to watch it, but it's like really boring. And I'm like, wait, so you just tried to like sit down on your couch and watch the video? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, that's not the point of the video. The point of the video is that you actually do it and you hit pause, and then you watch 2 minutes and then you pause and then you actually do it. And then I'm like, it's not for like your entertainment on YouTube, right? I mean, this is an instructional on how to, and it's like, but you take, this is the kind of stuff you learn over time that you take for granted. It may be intuitive to you, but you have to be very clear on how to use the resource properly, right? But yeah, to me, there should just be a video on absolutely everything that you do, and that makes it very easy. And then in addition to that, that's the second part of the video piece that's important is just content about how to do the business, right? So like I have playlists for a new agent or playlists for like the buyer process and things like that, where that is more for entertainment. Like it's not super boring. It's more talking about situations and telling stories and doing and giving examples and stuff. But how do you expect an agent to kind of know that 15, 20 things that they got to know before they talk to a buyer unless you tell them, right? And that's one of the things that you can accomplish through video, is just have a YouTube playlist that says, hey, here's 30 videos. You need to watch these within the first 2 weeks. I mean, they're all 5 minutes each. You can get through them pretty quick. But then when somebody brings up 1031 exchange, you don't sound clueless because you never heard of what a 1031 exchange is before. Or, I mean, you know, again, I come with a million examples. And I could send you guys my playlist, my new agent playlist that is just content of stuff that they need to watch before they get started.
I love that. I love that. So much easier. Tanya, go ahead.
So I am super totally on board with Dylan. I mean, I don't have a buyer's agent, like I just have a VA, and then I think I'm gonna have an assistant next. But you know, I would even say, like, you know, even with that, I mean, you know, you do have to remember that you're making videos for somebody to watch them. And so sometimes, like, I've recorded my videos 3, 4, 5 times around, then deleted them. Because, you know, you want to make it efficient. You can't be like, you know, rambling on and on. It's like, if you don't have an efficient video, you can't get it out in like 2 to 3 minutes. Start again. You know, and also I'm not sure that I would keep my videos. I mean, I know you can keep those kinds of videos on YouTube, but you know, like I said, I've been like in with like Krista's thing now for like almost 3 years and doing video for that. I think I would recommend that you guys put your training videos on like Vimeo or somewhere else where you can have it a little bit more private, because you kind of mess, if you are doing stuff on YouTube, you're kind of messing with your algorithm.
You can just leave it as unlisted on YouTube.
Yeah.
So
I
like
know,
some of it's private, but then you can leave it as unlisted too.
Yeah, but you might want to do Loom or take them off of there and like.
And me, I'm super like lazy, right? So I don't do 2 separate videos. Like the video is client facing, but it applies to a new agent, right? So that's the kind of my strategy, is the video is definitely public client facing video.
Yeah.
But what I found in the beginning was I would get calls from agents who says, hey, I learned more from your YouTube channel than I do for my own broker. Like, can you be my broker? And I'm like, sure. Like, so that's like that. It's an attraction piece too, where if it's valuable for a client, it's going to be valuable for a brand new agent too.
Yeah. Like for me, it's a little bit, it's, you know, it's that whole thing going back to every team is different. Your whole purpose behind the videos is a little bit different. For me, I don't want my stuff out there.
Hey, Chris, so I would add a couple things. You know, yes, we do videos for everything for our team, but then realistically, once you start building with agents, and I know we're kind of talking early stages, you know, getting a VA or getting an assistant, but we do, and I know Dylan does them also, you know, the daily calls. It's about being present with those agents, whether it be, you know, and we do a 10 to 10:30 call every morning.
I love it.
With the exception of 2 days a week, because we're here in the office, or they're intended on Tuesdays. You know, we used to do the Team Freedom early on Tuesday mornings. So now in turn, they're supposed to be attending the Team Freedom classes. So we do that because it's a round robin of here's what's happening. And they know that I'm going to be asking what's happening on 123 Main. Where are we at with this? What's happening here? I've seen this email, you know, and following back up. And this is their time to ask questions. But more than just asking the questions, they're hearing from 15 other people in a quick 2 to 3 minutes, something that's happening to them. So when it happens to me, now all of a sudden I go, oh, I remember Susie having that happen, and I know what to do. Versus, so it's a quicker way of learning too in that process of the communication every day as a team lead for them.
I like it. Well, you set the tone again, right? You're creating that leadership, and people love to follow. I know, regardless, I think humans just want something to attach to.
Yeah.
They're looking for direction.
And I would, the other thing I would say too, you know, with team members, as you're bringing in agents and different things, as Dylan was talking, it made me remember also, like, you can't want it more than the agent you've brought on. Like, if they only want to do 2 to 3 deals a year and you think they have the potential to do 50 deals a year, you've got to recognize the place they're at in some of them. And it might not be the right fit for you. It might not be the right fit for your team. And you just got to be honest about it. You know, and we've had to have some of those tough conversations lately where I think you're a fabulous human, but your method, your path doesn't align with where we're trying to take things. So I'm here to support you, but we're gonna, you know, my phrase is always bless and release. You know, like I'm gonna wish you the best, and I'm here to help you, but you know, I've got to focus my time and energy on those who want to continue to grow, and focus my time and energy on them. So.
I like it. Well, then again, that's another great role of a leader, is identifying people in their highest level and best uses.
Yeah.
Right? It is. It's that being able to identify the real goldfish and the play little betas, right? And like who's going to be a shark and who's going to be a guppy fish. And it's okay. You know, you can't judge a fish and how well it climbs a tree, right? That's what they say. Because then you're going to think that they're the worst thing in the world, but their fish is never designed to climb a tree. It's all good.
Yeah.
I love it. So another great skill set for a leader, a team leader. I love it. Okay. So we covered some of the things on some SOPs. Thank you, Tanya, for sharing that. And the video things, that's actually new to me, because again, I haven't, the video thing is new for me because I haven't really done the video stuff. Most of my stuff was done like in person with my team, writing it down, putting in systems and putting on sheets for them to actually go back to a book. So I love this video thing because I think it's so much leverage. Like you could do a crap load of videos and have them go back to all of them. Like, how do you do this? How do you do that? Standard operations. Yeah, so this is great for that. And Dylan, I know this guy's got a system on a system on a system. I love you for that, brother. Like you have it all. Like, you need anything, you need to go to him. He's like Walmart of a system. He's got them all. That dude's got every system here. I love that. All right, so what are some of the questions? Carrie, you mentioned you love training videos. I love it. Where are you at? So what are some of the issues you guys have run into? Linda, you guys, some things on teams. Where are you stuck at? Where are some of the things, some roadblocks? Maybe some areas that you think you're hitting at that you're not growing? Or maybe just in general, you think you should be a higher place or farther along than you are, and maybe you're kind of questioning that and just flustered. What's some of the feedback is from those? Because I mean, we could kind of go 100 different directions on this and talk for hours on great different styles of teams. But man, let's get more specific on what we can do to help you guys and why you're even here this morning or this afternoon, depending on what time zone you're in. So yeah.
Here's one more like thing to evaluate, questions to ask. And if you guys have, just raise you guys, if you guys want to jump in. But I'll go through these kind of other these additional notes. So another one is like we're talking about, what kind of team do you want, right? Like it's just like, what kind of client do you want? Like you kind of have to come up with your team avatar and really clearly define in your mind and your intention of what do you want, because there's all kinds of different structural team models within EXP, but then there's also just like the functional team model, right? And so some examples is, and this is like, I think a lot of high producing agents, they have the genius with 1,000 helpers model. So if you've read Good to Great, this is a bad way to build an organization where they just want to continue to be a top producer and have all these minions that like show property for them and do stuff. So they're not really developing a sustainable organization. It's more, you just want to be the genius with 100 helpers, right? And so that's really building your own personal organization. It's not really building a team, but that's something just to be self-conscious of, right? Is that if that's what you want, you got to clearly define that and make sure that the people who you hired have no ambition to actually, go beyond being a helper, right? And that's not necessarily healthy, but it can work if that's kind of what you want. There's like the SEAL team, where you're a small specialized group of people that has a very clearly defined role. So, 5, 6, 7, 8 people, and everybody has a very clear role, and there's no need for expansion, right? It's like you want to keep it small, you want to keep it specialized, and that's a very successful team model that a lot of people do. But again, that's one model. It's going to be hard to expand beyond that because it convolutes that, it complicates things. So if that's what you want, is like that SEAL team, right? That specialized special operations force. That's one way. And then there's like all of the EXP different sizes, right? There's like domestic teams, which are 2 people. There's self-organized teams, which you can just kind of have a loose kind of co-marketing organization. There's standard teams, which now you get some compensation benefits from the company where they have reduced caps, and then you have mega teams where if you're producing at a high level, you have additional benefits and requirements. But that's something to kind of think about, is in the long run, what kind of team do you want? And then you can build your structures and processes to facilitate that. And so just another thing to consider before you get into the process.
I love that. I would say, I don't know if you guys agree with me, Dylan and Julius, but I think when you start thinking, I know at least I did when I was starting to venture into the idea of wanting to build a team and leverage. And I love how you described those different types, because you're right. Everybody has their vision and desire of what they want in a team. It could be 2 or 3 people, it could be their team. You're right, Dylan. And it could be unique, niche, and just what you want within your little sphere in your bubble. You could want to grow massively. My opinion, when I was thinking of team though, was growing, because ultimately my mind was, like you said, the more obviously increases more productivity, increases more revenue, increases more deals, increases more GCI. That was my thing. Like, I wanted to grow. My percentages would grow higher if I had more people. But understand this and remember, more people, more problems. That's the truth. Like, more money, more problems, more people, more problems. It really comes down to that. And, you can really, and you have to actually continue to grow your systems. What systems you are doing right now for 3 or 4 in your team will not work for 15 or 30. And you have to adjust and make those things and pivot with your 15 or 30 people. And even then, maybe customize within those 15 or 30, because like as Jill said, you're going to identify some people are just the 2 or 3 per month, and some that are 13 or 14 per month. How do you cater to both sides of those people and keep them motivated? I mean, your job as a team leader is to train, lead, motivate. It really is. It's to train, lead, motivate. You have to train them. You got to lead them. You got to motivate them. You got to coach them. Yeah, it's a lot involved in that. So ultimately, it's like a high level of babysitting. But it does, the reward should pay off if you can find ways to create these systems, these back end pieces to help automate and leverage yourself so that you can actually have some peace of mind. That'd be the next step, I think. So yeah, identifying how much, how big, how much you want to grow. And sometimes it just happens organically. You can't even help it. Because I have so many friends of mine, like, oh my gosh, I get calls all the time. So I mean, hey, I want to join your team. I want to join your team. I want to join your team. And you don't say no. It's like turning down $1 million listing. You just don't say no to that. You're like, sure, I'll take it on. I got 5 other listings this week, but I'll do that one too, because you're not going to say no to it. How do you figure out the balance in that, right? Like, okay, maybe I'm stuck, I'm good at 5, or I'm good at 10, or I'm good at 12, and I don't really want to take on 13. I need to make sure I take care of the 12 I got, and if one happens to leave, I'd love to take you on. That might be your boundary that you need to learn to have and really establish. Figure out what that looks like for yourself. I'm willing to go right here as my threshold. Anything beyond that, I'm good. I need to honor that. And that way you can continue to safely run your team and your business to the highest level that you can do. That'd be another thing. So identifying within yourself as well what that looks like. I appreciate you sharing that, Dylan. Anybody else? What else you guys got? Throw out some stuff here. How is it? So yeah, we got 20, 25 minutes. We can do for an hour here. So I just want to make sure you guys come here and feel like you got your value of what you're looking for, as far as maybe questions that you had on building your team, or whether you should even build a team. Maybe you haven't even started one, but or if you continue to build your business single and solely on your own, what's that next step look like for you guys? So yeah, shoot out anybody. Any questions? Anybody in the chat box? Anything else? Let's see here.
I can say I have challenges because Rob and I are trying to be big producers as well as have a team, and sometimes the team comes to us organically. We bring someone on and they bring someone on. Unfortunately, a lot of them are newer. It takes a lot of work. I have a lot of systems in place, but I didn't do video, and I think that's my next step, because I'm repeating over and over when a new person comes, and it's a lot of work. My thing is, I think it was Dylan that said you can't want it more than they do, and that's hard for me because I want them to be successful. My goal is actually to help them become successful, leave the team, and build their own team. And I just want to have recruits out there, but not be babysitting everyone.
Yes.
That's the goal, but it's a work in progress, because it's we have 10 on the team, 5 others that are part of our family, but still come to us for a lot of stuff, and then trying to be icons at the same time.
Yeah.
Chris, so if I could answer, because I think I sit in a little bit of a different position than some of our team leads. For those that don't know, so I am the manager of operations for the Blake team. So Mike is our team lead. I'm running the office and the team, and that structure piece, kind of as you're looking at that assistance piece, that's where I fall in. So I would say finding that person who can take some of that off. I'm an agent myself. I'm still producing. I'm still doing what I need to do to pay my bills. but also working the backside of things to free him up. So Linda, I'd say, is there someone within your organization who could help you with some of that training of those new people, whether it be like a mentor within to take on some of those newer agents, to show them things. So like for us, when a new agent comes on, they have to do 3 listing presentations. So I will, find an agent who's going and just assign it to them, hey, you've got to reach out to Susie. She's got a listing appointment this week, and, Jimmy's got another one, and Kevin's got one. Also figure out which time works best for you, so that it kind of takes things off your plate, because I guarantee you there's someone in your organization who wants to help coach and grow people. You just have to reach out to them and tell them you need the help to do it.
That's great. And my other question is, do you want to live in Florida?
I know. I used to live in Florida, so I came back to the great state of Michigan somehow.
Hijack Mike Blake. Take
Exactly. Yeah. That's, we were just talking, and I would say too, is you're looking for that person who's going to be the opposite. Like, Chris and Dylan know both Mike and I, we're opposites. He is Mr. Think Big, entrepreneurial, let's go for it. Let's try 30 days at this. And I am the person who like looks and says, okay, how do we make that work? So you kind of have to have those people as a team lead who's also going to step up to you and say, no, that's not the right thing. Getting yourself surrounded by a bunch of yes people is not the way to go. Solely because now everything you're saying is going to be, oh, that's great. But it might not be the right answer. And I remember 3 years ago, we were looking at everything, walking away from $30,000 a month at Zillow and saying, nope. He was like, we're done. We're going to figure something else out. And now all of a sudden it was, okay, let's start doing the research and finding different things. So like, you've got to be willing to adapt and change, and have people around you and hear what they're saying of what's working and what's not. So I think that's what's helped us be successful too.
That's a super important point that I learned. I mean, like late in life is that a lot of times as when we have the desire to lead, we look for people like us to help us do it. And that's probably the wrong approach. Like the only reason we've had the success that we've had is I'm surrounded by people that are very much not like me. My brother is not like me at all. My wife is not like me at all. I mean, our core team of leaders have a great amount of balance and fill each other's gaps and weaknesses. And that's a super, super big one, is not looking for, if they were like you, they wouldn't need you. That's a quote I heard recently that really hit home on that.
I love that. If they like you,
Yeah.
It's true.
And it does, because really and truly, like Mike loves to be out showing houses, 8 in the morning till 10 at night if he could, and meeting people and doing things where I love to make the trains run all day, and making sure that everything's taken care of. And on the backside, I will talk to his clients all day long and making sure they're good. But I also know, my needs in life are different at this point with, my responsibilities outside of work. So I can't be gone at a moment's notice. So I do always say to people, people joke, well, come and move to Florida. I'd love to, but you just got to find another me down there. I promise you, we're all out there.
Yes.
She got a twin sister.
Right. Exactly. I'm gonna morph myself into others. So, and I would say too, the last thing I would add in, sorry, I don't mean to keep jumping in, but there's a difference too when you want to, Chris and Dylan both were talking about, you've got to be able to sustain your business in the beginning. I can want to build my own team. I might want to help people and grow people and do everything else. You have to know when's the right time. And then you have to plan. I would say that plan should take you anywhere from 6 months to a year before you're ready to go on that. And we have people on our team moving on to their own. And really and truly, this last 6 months of this year is just prep with me, helping them get ready so that they can build those pipelines. Because if you don't have the lead sources coming in and you can't sustain it, you'll lose your people pretty darn quick. So that's it.
Here's one more huge consideration that came to mind in this whole discussion about like bringing on your assistant or your operations director or whatever. And this is something that all the many successful or perceived successful team leaders that I've talked to over the years is, in the beginning, I don't know anybody who has a profitable team. Like, this is a big one, right? Is like, if you're talking about, then you're talking about like having to continue to do production and all this stuff. I know for me personally, for the first couple of years, I was spending $100,000, like running the, like out of my own production that I was doing to build, to supplement what was needed in order to build the team to where it is. And so it's a huge risk, right? It's a huge investment. But people look at it like 3 or 4 or 5, 10 years later, and they're like, oh, it must have been so easy, and it must have got there so easily. They don't see like in the beginning when you're also selling 30 or 40 properties a year, plus building all your systems out, plus trying to lead people, doing all the additional things. And it's like, that's the difference between the people who make it and the people who don't, are the ones who are willing to do all that extra work, take out that additional risk, spend the additional money. And that, I think, is a really hard thing for people to get over. Is it gets super comfortable when you're making a lot of money as an individual agent or, as a partnership or whatever, to say, okay, now we're going to start spending some of that money to try and take this thing to the next level, because it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, it doesn't happen right away. There's like, profitability can take years for it to really make sense. And I know personally, it took probably 4 years before I had replaced my personal production income with income that the team was generating. And then it continued to it's kind of made sense. But nobody sees year 1 and 2 when like you're spending 50% of your income on trying to invest and build something. And so yeah, that's a huge thing to get over, or actually you just got to accept, right? If you're going to do it, you can accept it.
Yeah.
There was always a quote, Gary Keller is lovely, is lead with revenue, right? Most people don't do that, and they find out why most businesses are not sustainable, and it's a risk. You're right, 100% risk. And you got to be willing to, like, if I'm going to go in on this, though, I'm going to 100% all the way, and I'm going to make sure this works, right? Undoubtedly, unequivocally going to work. But yeah, so question she had, I think Tanya had, Dylan, for you, is what were the things you needed to pay for supplement on your side?
And office lead generation, software systems, paying people to help build the team. Like, I mean, this is the crazy thing. Like, again, no two teams are the same. Like, I don't have an admin. Like, we have 100 people, and I don't have I've never had an admin, but I have people who serve a role that make up. So you can bring on one person to do everything, or it was a slow growth process of, okay, you're going to handle lead generation and lead management. You're going to handle training and operations. You're going to handle, eventually kind of admin and onboarding, stuff like that. So it kind of happens over time, but, I always paid people through commissions, right? So it was like, hey, you just got to trust me. I'm going to create enough business where I'm going to just give you 10% of all the stuff that I create, but you're going to do this job, which is outside of actually production, right? And then that was kind of our business model of how we grew and built things. So it wasn't like necessarily a bill that you paid, but it was income that I was producing, that I was giving away because I was investing in a person and what they would help me build. And so that's a big one is, you can have like the employee model where you start, like, you create an LLC and you start paying people salaries and benefits, or you can have a model. And I don't think this is an orthodox model, but like my model is shared success, right? Like, if we make it together, you get a piece of all the stuff, and like, you just got to believe in the cause. And that's, again, you attract risk takers who have the same mindset if that's more of your model. Because if you want somebody who you're just going to pay them $60,000 a year and they want a job, that's going to be a different kind of person, right? And you got to be okay with that, because that's what they're looking for. Are they going to show up on Sunday morning, go above and beyond when it's their day off? I mean, maybe not, but maybe that's not what you need, right? So those are all the things you have to kind of weigh, is what kind of people are you looking for? And I was always looking for business partners who wanted to share in the growth and the success of something bigger than what we could do on our own. So
I love that. No, that's important. That's huge. And it works. Again, proven method that there's not one shoe that fits all. It's still his team's super successful, and it totally works, but it's your way. But you have it figured out, you put systems in place, and you got it all down packed, which is important. That's
I didn't have a plan. Yeah,
I never. That's right. The best things in life that work out is all is well that ends well. It really is all is well that ends well, and it ended where it's at. Now your growth trajectory is crazy through the roof, right?
And let me just like share like a personal, very big risk that really supercharged the business is, I got my wife to give up her $80,000 a year cushy teacher job, right? Very safe, very secure, benefits, all that stuff. because I felt like that's what we needed to go to the next level. And that was like a year and a half ago. And we went from like 50 agents to 110 in the next 2 years because of the value that brought. And was that worth like taking the hit and giving up a steady paycheck and health insurance and all that stuff? Like, absolutely. But it didn't feel real good at the time, right? I mean, it didn't feel super smart at the time, but it was like one of those things where you just got to kind of take the shot. And it wasn't just me doing it. It was like my whole entire family taking the risk, right? And so, but it completely was the best decision we ever made.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I would say some of the other, costs and things as you're looking, something as simple as business cards for the agents and the people you're bringing in. And having signs to go in front of houses. The day-to-day things. Is your model going to be you have an office, or is everyone working remotely? Is your team local and, you're rooted somewhere? Just, all of those things that you come back to. Like for us, there's myself. We also have a listings manager. We, do you need a transaction coordinator? Do you need an ISA making calls for you on top of what your team is doing? So those costs of doing the business just vary, depend on what you see the model to look like. And where I'm in a physical building in a downtown area, we had to buy the building. We had to renovate the building. We had, was that in Mike's first few years of business? No, but we knew that this was where we needed to be to really solidify business here in our town. So those are just all things you got to think through.
One more example of like building this thing, right, is our transaction coordinator team. Like, this is one thing that we provide a lot of times as teams, is like we provide transaction coordination. And you can either like contract with a company or maybe hire somebody, a staff member or something like that. And again, not like super strategic, but I just thought this would be a good idea. I had an agent on my team that was an amazing admin transaction coordinator type person, and I encouraged her to start a company. I'm like, start a transaction management company and we will support that. Like, we will send all our business to you if you do this. And she did it, and now she has a couple of girls that work for her, and we send her 300 or 400 transactions a year. And so but it was a business partnership. It wasn't like I'm just going to hire a staff member who's may quit on you, or may or may not do a good job, or may or may not be consistent, right? So that worked out really good. I mean, better than I could have ever imagined. But like, that again was a risk, right? I could have just went to a SkyTC or some established company and just said, hey, I'm gonna pay for your service, where now I have an invested member of the team who's looking to grow their own company and do big things, and now is recruiting agents and there's all these additional benefits, right? So that's just another kind of two ways to go about doing it.
It's awesome. So again, uniquely enough, there's not one size that fits all here. Every one of us page has got some successful things going. Jill, Mike, Blake team is going crazy. Tanya, you're doing great. I mean, Tanya on her own right now I see all the posts you're doing. Tanya, you're crushing out in the East Bay area. You're making records, you're breaking records out of Terry, so it's amazing. Linda, you guys too. You guys are doing amazing. I think that's a hard job to do when you're trying to be an icon in production and you're trying to train and coach these brand new agents. Nothing harder than new agents. Let's be honest, nothing harder than brand new agents, because they are literally kind of a blank canvas. In some ways, it's great because they don't have all the bad habits of a seasoned agent. However, the downside of it is you got to teach them how to flush the toilet. I mean, I use that figuratively, like metaphorically. You got to teach them how to flush the toilet, even though it should be common sense. We take that for granted, and most of the times are like children. It is what it is, but you got to figure out. I always say, is the juice worth the squeeze? Sometimes you may not have to. It's like the 80-20 rule. I have so many of my friends, even past, I'm guilty of this. When I had my company, I was always trying to so heavily focus on the 80%. How can I make the 80% better? Because the 20% was working just fine and doing their thing. We had them dialed in. It was great. The 80% used to drive me nuts, kept me up at night, because I would like bang my head against the wall. What can I do if I can just do a little bit more training? If I could just do a little bit more of this, if I could do a little bit more of that. You can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make them drink, period. In a discussion, you just cannot. And so the truth is, you got to let the 80% go. Let it go. Like, your job is not to focus on the 80%. I'm sorry, and that might sound selfish, but the truth is, you need to get to this place in these boundaries of your business where the 80% kind of gets just put on the back burner. You focus on the 20, really hone in and take care of that 20% that's really showing up for you right now. The 80 will self-identify on their own and become part of the 20, or they will not. And if they will not, they're in good riddance. It was meant to be. It's a blessing in disguise. You dodged a bullet. That's what it is. And trust me, you got to kind of take the emotion out of this thing sometimes and just be really logical about the way you run your business. Understand it's not personal. This is just business. But the truth is, you need to really honor your time, energy, and effort first and foremost. Like any relationship, it's always about you first. Because if without you being in a good place, without you being at the highest level, running your level of your business, you're not going to be able to cater to the team at all. By any means, you're not going to show up. You're going to be a dead battery. And they're going to try to keep plugging into you and getting all kinds of stuff from you. What can I get? What can I get? What can I get? What can I get? And you're going to be just dead to the world. So really hone in and make sure anybody's looking at this, you got to get, take the emotion out of it. You really do. So if it's hard for you to do that, maybe your role isn't the role to be the team leader. I'm just saying. If you guys don't know the story behind Keller Williams, Gary Keller had to fire himself. Like he literally went to a coach because Keller Williams got to a certain point. They could not grow anymore. And Gary was like beating his head against the wall. So he hired a coach to tell him, what can I do next to take my business to the next level at the time? He took all his books, took all his little platforms, and he reviewed everything. And when Gary walked into the office, sat down, and Gary says, well, what should I do? Guy says, you should fire yourself. What? You should fire yourself. You're not the guy to take Keller Williams to the next level. It was Mo Anderson. He had to go hire Mo Anderson. Mo Anderson was the person. So my point in saying that is Gary, the visionary, the man who started Keller Williams, was not the guy to take it to the next level. You might not be the person to take it to the next level. Don't take that personal. Take that with what it is. You have strengths in areas in which you're good at, and maybe you're not good in that area. That's all fine. Again, so just I want you guys to identify. These are great identifiers. Dylan talked about this at the beginning. Really identify your role, your place, and where you fit in this team. It may not be the leader or the rainmaker. It may be the silent person behind. It may be the guy with the pulling the strings. Who knows? But just figure out what that looks like, because then you're going to overextend yourself and become overwhelmed, become anxious. You're going to get exhausted, and you're going to hate the whole idea and concept of it from the beginning. You're going to like done. So make it as pleasant as possible. I guess my point in saying is make it as pleasant as possible. That's my.
Here's one more thought on Icon, because this is another one, right? Like top producers like that, they really want to make Icon. And this is an aha moment. We're just having this discussion right now. Is my first 2 times making Icon took me like 4 or 5 months to cap, and then like 11 months to make Icon. Right, you just make it right before 11, 12 months. You just make it. The first year as a mega Icon team, I made Icon in 4 months. Not cap in 4 months. I made it in 4 months. Right, so it's like it's one of those things where you're just investing in the future. Like you could focus on the thing now and say this is my goal and I want to keep it, but that's holding you back from actually doing it way faster and easier than you probably couldn't have ever imagined. So that was never again not a plan thing or something that happened that I'm like, holy crap, like that was way easier than like stressing out and like making sure you got enough deals closing and just barely making it under the wire. Remember year 1 I was at the EXP, I missed it by two transactions. I was so pissed, right? Because like I was almost there, right? And so yeah, just like those are the kind of external things that get caught up in your brain that hold you back from doing the next thing, when really the next thing is probably going to get that to you a lot easier and faster.
I love it, dude. Proven. Appreciate you guys. You're a rock star. And then, Dylan, I respect you 1,000,000%, man. I mean, you are my idol. I'm older than you. When I grew up, you just
wouldn't be here without you, man. Wouldn't be here without you.
Collectively, us together in this amazing group. I love each and every one of you guys tremendously, and I'm grateful for all the people that are coming on board. I hope this is of value to you guys. I really do, because ultimately we do want you to be at the best level you can at whatever you're doing, whatever arena you're playing in. If it's an individual sole realtor, we love you, and we're here to support you that way. If it's a team environment you want to do, hey, we will bend over backwards to help you figure out what that looks like as well. I think we could probably maybe do these once a quarter kind of thing, maybe, where we come in and start talking about people's progression. Like next people that come in, like where were you at? 4 months ago you were here. Now I'm here. Look at what growth we've had, trajectory. Maybe things didn't work out. Cool. Share it with us. You tried something, implement it, and it failed. Awesome. At least you failed forward and you tried, right? And that's how this team thing works. You really implement things. Then, like you said, you had no plan. Neither did I. A lot of times when I first started my first company in 2000, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. Me and my buddy had zero idea. It was like Dumb and Dumber. It really was. Ultimately, I was just closing loans and he was selling real estate. Cool. He can open a company. Of course. Everybody does. No. So many bumps and bruises and hundreds of thousands.
Here's an important point to that, Chris. Is like the plan is not important, but the vision is. I remember from day 1 as a brand new agent, I would look at the MLS and see who was the number 1 agent. I said, one day that's going to be me, right? Like I was like, one day I'm going to beat all these guys. And so like that was always the overarching goal, right? Is that like being number 1 can be the goal or whatever your goal is. But if you have the vision, the plan will figure itself out, right? And you'll figure it out along the way. But people focus too much on the plan, right? And the process rather than looking at the big picture and what the end goal is. So
I love it. Yeah. And then they get in that analysis of paralysis, right? overthink it for days. Well, scratch my head. And then next thing else, go ahead.
I would say too, Chris, just in with that, is having those people that give you the balance to it to go try, go do. But then also, no matter how long you've been in it, I know Dylan has looked, you've probably had to look over the course of time. You have to, like we do every 30 days, we're reassessing where we're at. Is this the right place to go? It is a self-analysis day in and day out. Are we doing the right things? Are we moving the right things? And we've been having the conversation. Do we change our model? Where we've been very successful in the truly traditional team model over the last 12 years, is that what the agents that are coming into the industry and who are in and dealing with everything right now, is that what they want? It's not. They don't love the idea of a 50-50 split or, a 70-30. Like, what's that start to look like? So being open to changing your model as you go along is also, that self-evaluation and reflection is nonstop.
Yeah, I love it. Don't ever get married to one idea. That's
I thought you were just gonna say, "Don't ever get married." I was like,
I was like segue into that, but I didn't. I'm keeping this pretty professional.
I was gonna say, keep it real.
Team environment. That's what I'm talking about. Team environment. Yeah.
Right.
Never be married to any one certain system because you are going to change it and be okay with changing. Like, which again, my other thing is
the only thing I'll never change in my life is my spouse.
there.
Everything else is open to change.
I hope Monica's listening. Monica. No, you know what? Always another great thing is always, it's slow to hire, quick to fire.
That's right.
Make sure you really implement that. Slow to hire, quick to fire. There's a process of hiring the right talent too. You just don't go find. I have so many people. Oh my God, I'm going to hire my cousin. She's off for summer. She's great. She's charismatic. I think she'll be awesome at this job. Yeah, the girl doesn't even show up for work. Okay, you have to go through a process of identifying these qualities and behaviors and make sure they fit the right process. Do a DISC profile on them. Analyze that. Verify it. Everything. There's so many things you can do, but you got to make sure you find the right behavior pattern and the right personality pattern to fit the role. So, slow to hire, quick to fire. If they do not perform, do not serve you and your business again, you got to let them go. Cut it off, cut it off, cut it off. And you can't make it emotional. And I'm sorry. That's where and then maybe you're not the role. There's a lot of people who are not great firers here. Like, not good firers. I'm an amazing firer. You need me to fire anybody? You call me up.
Fire.
I will fire anybody in the button. No problems. I don't know why I have that problem. Maybe it's me with no commitment issues. I don't know. But maybe it's just easy to fire people. Like, I have no problems with that. So you got to get in that mindset too. Be okay with letting go of what's not serving you and your team and your business, your environment, your system, your goal, your vision, all of that, of the above, for sure. Awesome. Well, we're at like literally top of the hour, 1 minute over. Dude, this was amazing. I hope this is of value to you guys. For those of you who don't have teams yet, maybe this was great and informative for you guys to decide whether or not maybe you want to go that direction. I personally do not want to do another team again. That's my own personal opinion. I just don't. But I've done it. And I really love the ability of what I have now with EXP because I can kind of somewhat do this and do this from kind of a 50,000 foot elevation, which is nicer for me. To each his own. There's no one way, again, that's right and one way that's wrong. Just what works for you. So, again, thank you, Dylan. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Karen, Johnny, Paige, Tanya. You're crushing it. And again, we can do this maybe once a quarter. Keep it flowing and keep the progress and see where everybody's at constantly. And we'll just keep chiming in on the Team Freedom pages. Just FYI, I don't know if you guys are getting the text messages through my KV Core that I do every Monday. Some of them aren't because I guess KV Core changed some things where they opted a lot of people out due to the whole SMS thing. I'm now fixing that right now. Brandon Birch is fixing that for me. So I am now going to have access to text everybody again. So hopefully it'll be working here next week. So awesome. I hope you guys see everybody at the State of the Union with Glenn, Brent, and Michael Valdez at 1 p.m. Pacific. So that's coming up here in a couple hours. So awesome, guys. Have an amazing day. You guys all.
Thank you. Thanks for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.